This video is sponsored by War Thunder. This is going to sound like a bit, but there's actually a lot of criteria here. So there's 82 of these. Most of them are just standard, ordinary benches, but some of them charge you for resting. Some have traps or off-screen machinery that needs disabling before you can use it. Some of them have lore, some of them disappear. This video should be a fun time. This video is gonna be a huge joke, basically just an excuse to exhaust all the one-liners I've saved up over time. And then I remembered half of us turned into necromorphs over the game's bench placement like 2 months ago, and I was just like, oh god damn it. I'm gonna have to take this like 20% seriously, huh? Well, that's the exact percentage of seriousness I'm giving it, so by the time I'm done, please expect at least one comment that reads like, "This guy think Cockway's bench is the worst one when Southeastern Bitch Mist has 2 benches right next to each other." Alright, let's get started on whatever this ends up being, I guess. Number 82 and 81, the Underworks Toll benches. One look at the game's business model tells you everything you need to know about Team Cherry's general shyness when it came to acknowledging their progress. If I pioneered a microtransaction system this abusive, I'd pretend social media didn't exist for 7 years too. These people drove home every evening and looked their families in the eye with a clear conscience for the entirety of this game's development. Bitch, you best get all your shit together in that single rest, cause if you switch crests and then stand up but forget to equip something, that's gonna be 15 more rosaries, please! Awesome, we figured out how to monetize sitting down. This is a level of societal train wreckage we should be afraid to go near. Life only imitates art because the people making the art are the ones with all the ideas. So in 30 years, when Amazon figures out how to make a vending machine that contains the keys to your fucking car, we're gonna know exactly where that blueprint came from. Number 80, the Bellhart Bellshrine. Benches like these do earn my respect to some degree, but in the same way your respect is earned by a living brick wall. An entity so unflinchingly stubborn that you have no logical course of action left but to just be impressed. They've kept so consistent with the theme of ringing bells and immediately being awarded a bench that it creates points in the game where the bench in question ends up being functionless, because there's almost always one to be found in the next room over. Greymoor and Songclave also have this detail, but the Widow bench is incredibly noticeable only because defeating Widow releases the haunted hold on Bellhart, and the bench that's always been available in Bellhart from the beginning just becomes so easy to return to that the one directly above you is only there for a thematic purpose. You do not return to this bench, ever. For any reason. No speed runs, no challenge runs, no 100% runs. At no point during any of Hornet's future adventures do you find a route that passes through this exact room. You are fucking finished here. Number 79, the Verdania bench. As simply and as elegantly as I could ever put it, this breakable wall right here blemishes the integrity of all others in the game, because it's a cleverly hidden breakable wall with not a goddamn thing behind it. There's lore, I guess, and a map. And that's it. Actually, no, get fucked. All the good lore is in the left part of the room because that's where the green prince is. Is a dead dude hanging out in a tent supposed to be lore? Yeah, I can't even make this one funny. Fuck this bench. Number 78, the Mount Fay temporary bench. It vanishes very soon after its already limited spotlight is over, but then why is it there anyways? How is a bench here supposed to be helping me? There's a bench in the slab next to the Bellway station 2 rooms over with no danger in between these two to warrant a pit stop. And there's zero possibility of anything in this room posing a real danger, unless my controller is in danger of disconnecting and the cold snuffs me out before I can get to my keyboard that I apparently left in the fucking kitchen somewhere. It's there because you need warmth. Bitch, there's a heat lamp in the next room over. Number 77, the Songclave Bellshrine. This bench is another one that falls in the category of just here to perpetuate a trend, and not here for any tactical or meaningful purpose. Because there's another bench that gets added not long after ringing the bell that becomes a much more comfortable base of operations since it's closer to all the NPCs, the signboard, and all the area exits, including the Ventrica station above you. We'll get to ranking that one in just a bit, but I just feel like making fun of the long-winded animation that needs a whole scene change just to get around, and exiting and re-entering the room just to skip it still finds a way to be inconvenient because the caretaker interrupts you with dialogue as soon as you walk outside. And why is this the only Bellshrine with the stupid-ass Isle of Space next to it? Like, why is this here? Number 76, the Marrow entrance. This poor, wasted piece of architecture sits 2 rooms away from the bone bottom bench to your left that serves as a comfortable hub for the early game all the way up to Bellhart. There's a shop, Chakra appears here, the scenery is nice. Every positive mark I give to the bone bottom bench just further highlights the insult to city planning that is the toll required to activate this bench that for some reason is sitting at the entrance of the bug equivalent of an active volcano. Who the fuck strings up money on the ceiling for me to grab and then puts a bench on a toll 1 room over? over. Number 75, the Deep Docks Act 3 bench. I used to think this was one of those relief benches that only exist immediately after a tense area to communicate to players that this is a safe haven and the struggle is over for now. Only it might be one of the only benches in the whole game where not even that is necessary, because the game autosaves right after you successfully escape the abyss. So if you somehow manage to die between there and this bench, you're just gonna respawn after the escape sequence anyways, so who gives a shit? And that's not even considering that if you made it to Act 3, you almost definitely unlocked the door to the sauna room bench immediately to the right of where the game spits you out. If the game decided just to not even place a bench here, I don't think anyone would have noticed or cared. Number 74, the Shellwood Toll bench. I'm realizing now as I read this title how unspecific that is. The one on the left, like the one directly below the Bellshrine. Some of these are intentionally made annoying to reflect the hyper-capitalist nature of the Citadel, and I get that, but benches like these are Discord during Christmas level annoying. Why is there a bell missing here? Why is there a bell? Is this supposed to be lore? If you give me a Bellway station right next to a main quest bench, I will never choose to make a rest stop anywhere in a 7-scene radius, let alone 2 rooms below me. And I'm certainly not going to subject myself to a secondary fee to string up my cash after you made me pay just to use the goddamn bathroom. Number 73, the Greymoor Bellshrine. Okay, so in order to enter the Citadel the good boy way, 5 bells throughout Farloom need to be rung. The bells in the Marrow and Deep Docks are almost impossible to miss. Shellwood's Bellshrine being next to a travel station massively increases its chance of being found, even though it is kind of missable, I guess. And Widow's Bell is literally required to open the gate because that's how you get the needle in. I bring this up because if this is your first playthrough and you have no idea what's going to be asked of you after climbing the blasted steps, I'll hedge a safe bet that you had this quest just like dropped on you. I'm also gonna wager you were missing only 1 bell, and that I'm pretty sure I know which one it is. Couldn't have been the only one not placed directly on the beaten path waiting for you to discover it, forcing you to carry that fat ass back across 3 regions just to activate it. This bench is starved of attention in the worst way, and it will wrench the entire main quest until it gets what it wants. Number 72, the Far Fields Central bench. You like paying tolls? Well, you're gonna be seeing a whole fucking lot of them from here on out. The Citadel is a town that shamelessly wants your money. It wants all of it. It wants it so badly that it didn't even think to have its own toll stations maintain a healthy distance from the vendor 1 floor above it. Well, I'm demanding a 33% discount. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm taking my money and giving it to Mort because at least he cares enough about his customers to conveniently leave his door mechanism in full view for me to vandalize. Number 71, the temporary diving bell bench. Not the actual diving bell bench. The actual diving bell bench is peak. This one is, well, I don't even know if it technically counts as a bench. This isn't even a different bench. It's the same one I was using 2 minutes ago before the dive. It's shitty now. And there's no one here. No diving bell operator, no nothing. Just my ass and this malfunctioning megaphone that really does not provide the best resting ambience. Number 70, the Chapel of the Witch bench. Can pretty confidently say there's no point to this one except for emotional support after you've just contracted the aids of the forest. Dying at any point after exiting Chapel of the Witch just takes you back to the chapel entrance because that's where the autosave is. And taking either way where the road forks to the left puts you pretty close to a bench you've already previously opened. Heading south gives you easy access to the Marrow Bell bench, and heading north, the way you probably should be heading because that's where Greymoor is, yields another fork with benches directly to your left and right. What's even more ridiculous is heading north after exiting the chapel cave specifically leaves this bench out of your immediate view. A lot of people probably didn't even know this shit was here. Number 69, the Sands of Karak bench. The only thing that stands between you and the raging conch fly is, quite a lot. Way too much, arguably. Like the vibes this poor dude sitting with me is putting off, I resonate with a shamefully high amount. This right here is the exact emotion this bench makes me feel. Number 68, the Far Fields West bench. Okay, so I'm gonna say something that might offend 2 people, but I'm willing to risk that because I have a feeling a lot of heads are gonna be nodding with this one. When the game first released and people were throwing keyboards over Savage Beastfly, this bench was for the players too stupid to figure out how to disable the trap in Hunter's March. But I'm not giving it a lower rating for any of that. I'm giving it a low rating because Farfields has way too many tolls for its own good. In the first 2 acts of the game, 3 of the 5 available benches in Farfields have fees attached to them. Like, why the hell is the Citadel monetizing ants? Number 67, the Biowater Bellway Station. Okay, Team Cherry, message received. The Citadel monetized everything right down to the faith of its own religion. You can stop now. There's no reason to keep driving this point home, nor is there a reason to hike up the rosary toll depending on how annoying you think the region's gonna be, but I'm sure that's just one of them good old coinky dinks. Actually, there being a higher toll for a place like Bylewater does sort of check out if we're to assume all those funds go to repairs and construct. No, wait a minute. Why the hell is there a toll bench in fucking Bylewater? Citadel don't give a shit about Bylewater, cuz that's where all their trash goes. There's a lore tablet that confirms it. And they're setting up tolls down here? Who's out here making shortcuts through the fucking sewers to get to work on time? Number 66, the Terminus bench. Was expecting more. God fucking damn it, not again. Vehicles. Combat. Vehicle combat. No, I'm not done. Vehicle combat? Explosions. Explosional PvP thunder game. 2,500 different vehicles, 10 major nations, tanks, planes, jets, armored cars, all from the 1920s up to today. Naval warfare, ground warfare, air warfare. Put your big boy boots on, bitch. This is War Thunder. The most comprehensive vehicle combat game available on PC, consoles, and mobile. War Thunder has a worldwide community of over 95 million players. Jesus fucking Christ. It's also got an incredibly sophisticated vehicle damage model where every unit is intricately modeled down to its individual components. I'm talking engines, fuel tanks, weapons, even the onboard crew, all susceptible to damage and even being disabled from enemy fire. So if one of your rotary cannons gets zoinked by an enemy F5, well, prepare to go after everything else with half your firepower, cause you ain't using that shit no more. All of this in the game still runs flawlessly, even on budget PCs. Like, I'm actually being serious. Like, this game's optimization is like nuts. Like, your great-grandmother's abacus could probably run this game. War Thunder is free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, mobile, I mean, pretty much any platform you can think of, honestly. If you play on PC or console and you're a new player, or you haven't played in the last 6 months, you'll even get a limited-time bonus pack with multiple premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decorator, and 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium. Links in the description, links in the pin, back to our scheduled program. Number 66, the Terminus bench. Was expecting a meaningful return here once I got into Act 3, but that just never happened. I'm down to one reason for why this bench was here, which is to show you the functionality of the Citadel's fast travel system as early as possible, since the Terminus is already unlocked by default, meaning you only need to unlock one other Ventrica to use it, and even then, I'm gonna see that I'm walled in once I get here and immediately exit the same way I arrived, which almost always leads to a bench, by the way. The furthest distance you ever have to travel between a bench and a Ventrica point is like 3 rooms with almost no resistance. But I guess having a bench placed here would feel more natural than just a straight up dead end with nothing to do in a game that's supposed to make exploring feel fun. So I can't really disagree with why it's here. Like, it tries its best, I guess. Number 65, the Mount Fay Toll bench. Who in the Jesus sign-spinning Christ puts a toll booth at the base of a mountain? Number 64, the Memorium bench. I really like the scenery here, but I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's a very bad thing, actually, because the scenery here is just, well, I mean, it's fake, like it's a Memorium. It's also one of the only benches you can get slapped out of mid-menu because enemies also exist in the room with you, which is, I mean, that's just funny if I'm being honest. Number 63, the Vaultkeeper bench. It's placed with reason. It's one of the only 2 benches available in this region, but this bench got such a low rating for me because something here isn't pictured, which is the 80-year-old man downstairs wrestling with a case of chain smoker's lung, and I think he's losing. When I see a bench, I expect rest. I expect good rest, and the atmosphere of a smoking section in an old American buffet isn't really that conducive to a good resting environment, in my opinion. Number 62, the Blasted Steps South bench. Okay, I get it. The Citadel sucks. Let's fucking cool it with the tolls, please. Actually, this might be a pretty smart move by Team Cherry, because if you're taking the intended path up to the Citadel and not being a filthy sinner, you'll notice a drastic uptick in toll benches near the end of the pilgrimage. There aren't any in Greymoor, but Shellwood has a noticeable toll problem since 2 of its 3 main resting spots have fees attached to them, and by the time you get to the Blasted Steps, it's pretty obvious what's happening. So kudos for sticking to a theme, I guess. Number 61, the Moss Grotto bench. Yep, it's a bench before a boss. First of many. And teasing me with it by making me double over like I'm grunting through a Charlie horse doesn't make me want it more. I'm gonna be real, it just kind of pisses me off a little. Number 60, the Choral Tower bench. You want to test out that conch cutter you just picked up? Well, here's a bench to reset your tool loadout and then waste some shards by flinging 2 of them into a fucking wall. And then sitting back down and changing it again because there are no enemies here. This bench does pop off in Act 3, however, since it gives you quick access to build adjustment after eating shit for the 15th time in the Choral Tower Gauntlet. Fighting con after you die means going through the last stage of of the gauntlet again, so I'd say it's pretty useful when it wants to be. Number 59, the Moss Druid bench. Can't deny the lush green scenery here, but one potion recipe gone wrong and that druid's gonna have to explain why everyone in their half of the forest has eyes growing between their fingers. And I'd rather not be this close to the blast zone when that happens. It's not like the Moss Home South bench isn't more than a short jaunt away regardless, so I'll probably just rest at that one, thanks. Number 58, the Mount Fay Silkshot bench. I don't know what else to call it. Every other name I could think of didn't have the right accuracy to brevity ratio to it, so I'm just settling on the Silkshot Room. Getting Fay down cloak felt like it had a very distinct finality to it for me, so the absolute last thing I ever thought about was just dropping off the right side of the ledge. The secretest secrets are hidden in the simplest places. Barack Obama. And I don't know, maybe give me some enemies to test out my new toy on. Do you know how far I had to travel from here to find an enemy that isn't meant to implode in a single hit and then immediately respawn for platforming purposes? Number 57, the Cogwork Core bench. I mean, the scenery's nice again, but like, that's really about it. The region does throw in some Disney waiting line style shortcuts to reduce frustration you'll undoubtedly have with platforming, but I mean, that don't really have anything to do with the bench. That's just smart level design in my opinion. Number 56, the Putrefied Ducts Bellway Station. I'm honestly just surprised there's even a Bellway station in a place like this. Even more surprised someone's making me pay for it. I said the same about the Citadel's very own sewer system, but at least with this one here, I'm bordering some pretty friendly places like Pale Lake and Memorium. And come to think of it, neither of those places are exactly friendly, but when you just found out the Citadel might be using its own sewer canals as transport avenues, any place that isn't here suddenly sounds incredibly tolerable by comparison. Number 55, South Whispering Vaults. There's only 2 benches in such a packed region, which did kind of throw me for a loop a little bit, but I guess you could argue this one as an Underworks bench, since you find it by going under the elevator in the Underworks near the exhaust organ just to access it. But then halfway through that section, you find out they built in a collapsible wall anyways that just brings you back to the Grand Bellway in the Citadel. So like, why? I guess Pious Izamor being directly above me would warrant something else here, but that argument can also be flipped to where I see the bench and immediately think there's nothing else of interest in this room, despite the collapsible wall to my left being so obvious, because rest spots for the sake of resting are extremely common. I don't know, maybe I'm looking too far into this, but then again, there's gonna be a lot of that in this video. Number 54, the Marrow's Flea Caravan. I gotta say, its placement in relation to everything else in the Marrow does give the impression that it ain't doing much. I mean, it's not like I was planning on returning there before it moves, to be honest. Once you've unlocked the gondolas, either bench to the far left or far right both become pretty easily accessible. I'm gonna be real, these two and the Bellshrine up top are kinda all that needs to be here. Number 53, the Choral Chambers. This bench right here. Luna, point to it on the map. It's this one. Yeah, that's how boring this bench is. I found greater points of interest in my fucking bathroom than around this bench. Number 52, the slab, this one. Luna, just, sorry, I know I'm making you do a lot of work, just don't worry about it. I found greater resting ambience in downtown Los Angeles Airbnbs than this bench. Y'all think it stinks in here, like in the slab? I bet it fucking stinks in here. Number 51 and 50, the Deep Docks and Shellwood Bellshrines. Look, I'm gonna be honest, I feel absolutely nothing when thinking about or looking at either of these. It's not like I even do them anymore, to be honest. The more I play this game, being a dirty sinner just feels like the more optimal path of the two. And guess what? Phantom is a cooler boss fight anyway. So you can talk to my dick. Number 49, the Shellwood Central Bench. If I were the frog in the pot, Shellwood is the boiling point. The water itself hasn't started to boil yet, but it's going to. Shellwood is the Citadel's primary venue for testing the patience of its many gullible followers, because Jesus of a shit, the tolls here, they really start kicking off. Like, they ain't pulling punches no more. Shame this bench ends up being so well connected to everything in Shellwood, including the Polyp Pouch quest and the fight against Sister Splinter that gives you a new movement ability, but the increasingly demanding fees I'm dealing with just for wanting to devote myself to a greater cause is starting to get a bit uncomfortable. Number 48, the Whiteward Entrance Bench. Some pretty nice environmental storytelling, just casually letting you know you're about to get your eyes plucked out by a congregation of Silent Hill nurses, which was exactly the last thing I needed to see before going under the knife. It's also the only bench in the region, but it's fittingly one of the smallest regions in the game, so I can't really complain. I mean, I can. I absolutely can. I won't, but I can. Number 47, the Deep Docks North Bench. You find it 2 rooms into the region, and you only pay 30 rosaries for it. I could bitch about it, but I'm honestly just glad it's here to begin with. Number 46, the Weavenest Cindril Bench. Oh, the tug and pull I had with myself on this one. So, let's discuss the practicality of this bench placement here. When first coming across this room, you'll almost definitely notice the pressure plates changing its light pattern depending on your movement speed. And from there, it doesn't exactly take a surgeon's brain to figure out there may be some fun to be had in testing this out with Flea brew. And there is! It gives you the silk speed anklets. So that's the only reason, right? Was it just to make it easier to equip one red tool just to gain access to another tool and then leave? Nah, bitch, sit down, we ain't done. Because now you get curious about how the pressure plates are affected with both tools on at the same time. And instead of going all the way back to where you picked up Drifter Cloak, you can just lace up your J's and then test them out right here, feel smart as fuck because it actually works, gain access to a super ultra triple secret hidden bonus passage all the way down to a closed off part of the Abyss containing its own sub-map area, a Delver Drill upgrade, a Mask Shard, and 5 new— Nah, I'm just talking out of my ass. You get a Rune Harp and a tease for a DLC that doesn't exist yet. Number 45, Biohaven. It's a good bench, but I have some gripes. It doesn't make much sense to place a bench here considering neither of the 2 benches in the Putrefied Ducts are a mountain climb away or anything, but this is a very common Team Cherry patented strategery that I'm picking up on called the Morale Booster Bench. It doesn't need to be here at all, and when you start looking at it in relation to the other benches nearby, its placement just starts to feel confusing. Yet, here one remains, and I'm only left to assume it's here because after the Texas-sized tit whisker you just pulled your ass through, you ain't moving a single step forward unless you see a bench, and the game's just like, you know what, player? You're goddamn right. Here's one on the house. Number 44, the Penstress Bench. Okay, so I have exactly one single compliment to pay this bench. The 3 benches close to the Nail Masters in the first game were effectively pointless since all 3 of them decided to live in complete and total isolation, meaning if you found one, then chances are you also found the end of that region. The Penstress Bench in the Blasted Steps, in a delightfully surprising twist, is not as useless as a solar-powered flashlight, because you will eventually return to this area upon receiving Fay Down, and that same bench now doubles as a comfortable midway point between the Sands of Karak and the Blasted Steps bench, all the way back to the right where you most likely came from. And then it's useless once you've made it through the sands and lowered the elevator behind the Bellway station. But for those 15 minutes of the game, it's peak. Number 43, the Mount Fay Hidden Bench. I'm not too sure where I stand on this one. I appreciate the additional reinforcing of the message that whacking walls is almost always to your benefit. I just think I'd be a bit more appreciative if I wasn't learning that lesson during the fucking Ice Age. Now, I feel like you can expect most players to say to themselves at this point, okay, surely I'm not expected to go that much further. Like, there has to be a checkpoint or something here. But if I'm going for Fay Down Cloak here, this means I haven't yet made my way to Upper Bilewater, and therefore haven't experienced what's arguably the game's most helpful example of this being properly taught to players. In hindsight, the breakable wall here is, like, it's so stupidly obvious, but when the encroaching threat of becoming a popsicle throws a wrench in your critical thinking skills, I don't think how obvious the visual cue is, it really matters in that moment, because you're just not even looking for it. I didn't find this bench because there was an obvious visual cue that clued me in on how structurally sound the wall in front of it was. I found it because I already died 3 times to nonsense and got tired of getting zooted back to the toll bench near the base of the mountain. Number 42, the Coral Chamber's Southmost Bench. Honestly, it is mind-blowing that this does not have a toll attached to it. Being dropped into the Underworks at the start of Act 2 was a fun little experience, but I was kind of looking forward to seeing the Citadel, and working my way back up in hopes that the game would just change its mind and give me what I wanted actually paid off, which kind of surprised me because it rarely ever does. It's not really the bench itself as much as it is the color grading of the background slowly getting more gold as I head up, but I was still thankful for the bench being here. Number 41, the Far Fields Carmelita Bench. Not too many complaints here. It's a nice convenient bench that utilizes knowledge of an Act 3 exclusive ability to access, and it cuts back drastically on the runback time to Carmelita since the second closest bench is Pilgrim's Rest. And anything to reduce the time I spend looking at Mort's bitch ass I'm absolutely okay with. Number 40, the Slab Bellway Bench. It's next to a Bellway station, and nothing, like absolutely nothing else. I don't have too much to say, but I don't have anything to say about this one, actually. It does what you would expect from a bench, and its physical integrity is sound enough to do its job, and only its job, so let's all give this one a big round of applause on the bare minimum. Number 39, the Coral Chamber's Northmost Bench. A decently placed resting spot that's pretty spaced out from all the others in the chambers, but good luck reaching the High Halls bench by the Gauntlet without a couple misadventures. I love taking the claw line elevators all the way back up to where I died just to feel something. God damn, it's like Disneyland up in this gilded bitch, only the mascots are flying around with metal hooks tied to their heads trying to pin the tail on the donkey. And I'm the donkey. Number 38, the Marrow Bellshrine. The first of many, 5 to be exact, well, I guess 6 counting the one in Songclave, but this is your first step to completing Act 1's grand quest. This is also where the practice of skipping the bell ringing animation just by exiting and then re-entering the room first becomes relevant, which is a nice bit of knowledge to bring up during Thanksgiving get-togethers to let your family know you're cultured, or perhaps on a first date, or an opening to a stand-up routine, or to trumpet from the rooftops of a building you don't own. Get creative. Number 37, the Hunter's March Trapped Bench. Hard to imagine this bench being anywhere in the middle, but I think I've got a case for it. Using rest stops to teach you harsh lessons about the world you're playing in is something you can't stay mad at for long. I just feel like walking to the left is, well, I mean, it's hardly a lesson now, is it? I feel like it's trying its best to give you 2 lessons at once. 1, not all benches should immediately be trusted, and 2, look around a little bit, and you might find something that helps you out. It's a really cool way to reveal the hostility of the world around you. I just think the Toll bench in Sinner's Road gets this across a little more creatively. And this dipshit jackass trap cost me 1,200 rosaries my first game, and I think I'm still working out some of that tension in my head. Like, holy shit, my piss could have boiled an entire fish tank. Number 36, the Huntress Bench. I didn't like this quest. Like, holy shit, I really didn't like this quest. But despite being so close to the Bilehaven bench, I found myself liking this bench placement a bit more, because for some reason, I never arrive here with absolutely nothing wrong with me. I either took damage from the duct fucker upstairs, or I took a bath in maggot water and started punching walls. This bench not only provides immediate relief from that, but the game is also nice enough to open up a shortcut back to the beginning of the region when you find it. It's nice. I mean, it's nice enough at least. Number 35, the Wormways Bench. I'm out here looking for something truly new and next level, but not even I would have predicted Hammond from Jurassic Park hanging out in a cave popping plasma perks off the sheet like pigeon peas. This weird science looking hoe-ass has enough plasmium to wage war against a whole country, but if I'm looking past the scenery, the bench still ain't really that great, but it does give you some nice things to look at. I could bitch about how long the run back is if you get ass tapped by the Zango downstairs, but if you're losing runs to his fat ass, then I think you might deserve it. Number 34, the Citadel Spa Bench. The closest rest stop from here is that shitty boring bench I made fun of 20 entries ago, so I can't really argue with its placement, but I don't know, maybe give me a resting spot at the actual spa, and next time I'll rate it higher. All I get is a front row seat to a corpse getting the Evil Dead treatment like that one bitch from Evil Dead. Of course I'm gonna complain a little. I ordered the 5-night Gilded Dream Suite with extensive amenities, you son of a bitch. My ass better get first dibs on that jacuzzi. Is this how the Citadel cooks their food? They just throw some shit in the boiler room and call it Applewood Smoked? Lock Green Prince in that bitch and call it a green bean souffle. Number 33, the Sprint Master Bench. The bench itself offers the player a comfortable relief point from all your new adventures in the far fields during the 3rd act, but for some reason I found this bench extremely easy to miss. When you're arriving here at the fork in the road, the right path will likely feel correct due to player instinct, leading you to, of course, venture north, which is the actual correct way. And by the time I've climbed up to Carmelita, I'll have forgotten all about that fork and probably won't even return to it until later. The Sprint Master is a pretty cool dude when he isn't getting routed by half the game's player base, but a bench being here for me to lace up the old anklets only to realize I literally just don't even need them feels slightly underplanned. Number 31, the North Cradle Bench. Wait, what the hell is a bench doing up here? Oh, Jesus, shit, I should have taken off the circlet. I'm gonna just be real. Calling this mini Path of Pain is an astute overblowing of this area's difficulty. Game's been out for over 3 months. I think I'm allowed to say that. But this being the only resting point between here and the absolute top of the entire map, it makes 100% sense. And it also clues you in on what's waiting for you towards the top. This is done a couple other times in the game where a bench is sometimes placed where it is, particularly to give the player a reason to just keep looking around. And that's when you end up finding a secret wall or a boss or something else. It serves its function well, but like, dear God, this scene is miserable to look at. I'm gonna be real. This isn't even a bench. Like, Hornet just found a flat rock and just parked on it. Like, yeah, sure, this is fine. I'll sit down here. Number 31, the Seamstress Bench. Nice side quest attached to this one here. I used to hate it, don't really anymore. And you even get a lore drop that the blue hooded booby on Farloom's left side is her sister. And if Hollow Knight and my interactions with the Nail Masters taught me anything, it is that this chick right here would kick the shit out of her sister's ass if given the chance. Exiting the balloon house gives you a pretty beautiful overview of the Farfield scenery, and also helps to see how both balloon houses operate on each side of the kingdom. This one is held in the air by the hot vapors generated by the lava, and the one in Blasted Steps isn't really held up as much as it is nailed down because of how goddamn windy it is. I mean, none of this has anything to do with the bench, but I just thought that was cool. Number 30, the Blasted Steps Bellway Station. I was kinda surprised to see how well connected to everything I was when resting here. Being right next to a Bellway station immediately gives it like 2 letter grade bonuses out of the gate, but you've also got Grendel to your left here that sells you a king's buffet of resources at equally kingly prices, a little shit stain. It's the closest travel station to the crust nut item if you're trying to speedrun that vapid landmine of a quest. The Caravan's 3rd location is within a healthy reach, making Flea brew refills a decently short trip during the mid-game. There's a unique Hunter's Journal entry in the room right above you, Lumble is here for you to take the dice from, and the game's single most depressing optional boss during the final act is only 3 room transitions away. The region itself is kinda bland and absent, but all things considered, there's quite a lot to keep things interesting here. Number 29, the Silk Eater Bench. If you haven't discovered how to unstuck the bench in the left part of the region, there are usually 2 muck roaches here that fate has destined you to die against. Like, that's just what's gonna happen. Take your lumps and go again. Using the Greymoor shortcut is way easier, but you probably never found this wall here before you found the bench itself by just going through the region and getting your shit stomped in as dictated by tradition. But once you're there, and once you've delivered the Queen's Egg, it becomes one of the only benches in the game that actually gives you a reason to return to it quite frequently, so that's some pretty good points there. Number 28, the Deep Dock Sauna. Damn, I must have bought the deluxe edition by accident, because my ass getting pampered in this bitch. I didn't realize this when running through the game the first time, but you're actually going through quite the gauntlet to reach the Four Brothers boss. Even the shortcut leading back into the door you unlocked with the simple key still leaves room for you to take some inconvenient damage on the way back every so often. So this bench doubling as a sauna room for Hornet I think is an admittance to the fact that your ass has been put the fuck through it, and the game knows it. Number 27, the Grand Bellway Bench. There aren't too many positive talking points I can think of for this one, but the ones I can think of are so immensely helpful to the game that even on those alone, I still feel like it deserves at least top 30. This bench is the reason navigating a region as big as the Citadel doesn't feel so overwhelming, because in a single room, barely a few hundred pixels across from each other, you've got both a Ventrica station and a Bellway station. It also builds anticipation into Act 2 very nicely, because this room is the first you see of the Citadel if you took the Sinner's Road route. Number 26, the Slab Main Bench. Man, I just got my shit stomped in by a fucking fruit fly. I'm naked, I have no crest, no tools, no weapons, and my only friend in here is a pickpocket. I've never needed a bench anymore in my whole life, and in this very moment, the game decides that's exactly what it's gonna give me. And I can't even use it because they took all my shit anyways. When my body felt like it was going to shrivel up inside itself from sheer frostbite, and the words "need key of apostate" got burned into my retinas, this bench became one of the most wonderful friends I would ever have, and I hope to God I never see it again. Number 25, the Wisp Thicket Bench. For an area so universally loathed by such a large community, I actually really like this one. It's a good bench in what unfortunately feels like a filler region, but it's also a bench that teaches you the value of being curious, to not give up, and that when the course ahead feels painful and agonizing, it might be in your interest to just put on your QA tester helmet and start whacking some walls, a lesson that's further reinforced in areas like Bilewater and Mount Fay. Though, like I explained earlier, I don't think it comes across as effectively in Mount Fay because the environment forces panicked exploration, which is kind of just useless and frustrating. You know, I'm reading the script back right now, and I have no idea why that little stray bullet for Mount Fay was even in here. Like, apparently, something inside me must really hate the shit out of that bench. Number 24, the Weavenest Atla Bench. The Atla bench provides a checkpoint that's reasonably spaced out enough from others, but a bench even being here in such a seemingly constrained region kinda clues you in on the idea that there might be more here than what you immediately notice. And that's when you figure out there's a secret bonus DLC to the left where you get to fight 2 Moss Mothers. You get Weavelight, you get the Snare Setter, and it's a massive shame to see this rule so intelligently established only for Weavenest Cindril to wipe its ass with it like 30 minutes later. Number 23 and 22, the Flea Caravan, Greymoor, and Blasted Steps locations. Not really your home away from home, but when half the benches in Farloom string you up for all your cash and the other half try to fucking kill you, I will gladly take shoddy carnival rides and the smell of wet dog if it means I can bypass filling my nostrils with charcoal and the burnt skin of abused workers in the Citadel. Number 21, the Exhaust Organ Bench. I've never revisited this place for any reason once I've slammed doinked on Phantom's Theater major ass, but they were kind of the reason behind all the ambience and why the bench felt so cool in the first place. You'd be handed a world-class shit blender of a jump attack that tracks way too well for some reason, and then the game just dares you to get mad about it, because it's immediately like, hey, here's some creepy, cozy organ music. And you know, I really can't hate it for that. They could have seized a pretty huge opportunity here to be massive dickheads with bench placement, but fortunately they remembered this is still technically just Act 1 and decided that they should probably hold off. Number 20, the High Halls bench. This is the only bench in High Halls, and this is also where the game starts getting much more lenient with its bench placement. High Halls isn't a small region, it's roughly Memorium sized, but it's also a decently packed region with a lot of tools and items to find, and the bench in the Choral chambers immediately preceding the High Halls region gives you a reasonable respawn point in case you run into the welcoming committee. This bench, however, is much more reasonably placed because you not only have the surprisingly long set of corridors leading up to the Rosary Cannon that isn't represented anywhere on the map, but you're also about to handle one of the roughest, most vicious gank platoons the game will ever throw at you. And this bench being only 2 rooms to the right of it makes it feel not at all different. Like, I'ma be real, it's still oppressive as shit, but I do appreciate the tiny runback. Number 19, the Ruined Chapel. Hey, can you fucking move? I thought the corpses on the benches were uncomfortable enough, but I kind of prefer them over this if I'm being honest. This is your key into the Red Memory. It's where you get most of the story of Act 3, and despite being populated entirely by snails, it still feels like one of the livelier resting spots in the game. I've never returned here except for when I've needed to, but sometimes that just ain't what a bench is about, dog. Number 18, the Forge Daughter bench. Sorry, sir, we only sell good tools here. Not since Power and goddamn Denji has there been a more iconic duo written into this game. Ballo and the Forge Daughter might be 2 of my favorite NPCs in the whole game. And you're saying I get to be mere footsteps away from an engaging conversation with them if Lace decides to hand me my ass cheeks on a plate? Holy shit, sign me the fuck up, goddamn. Number 17, the Sinner's Road Toll bench. Unlocking this bench felt so cool it could have been its own wish on a signboard. The only other bench in this region requires a full sweep of the area from its entrance all the way to the anus of Sinner's Road where the Silk Eaters are. And that's quite a massive incentive to start exploring and figure out what's causing this holdup right the hell now. And had I not been smacked by the Hunter's March bench 5 regions ago, I would have never even thought to do this. Placing a toll on a bench this convoluted is a shining example that you can monetize something all you want, but if it's still something cool, then people just won't give a shit. And that's for better or for worse. Number 16, Pilgrim's Rest. Hey William, what if we set up the expectation that all tolls and fees can be escaped or routed around if you clutch the bag hard enough? Actually, Ari, let's do that one time in the 4th region of intended progression and then just not do it ever again. In case you don't know what I'm referring to, you can attack the gear above the door right here to leave it permanently open, bypassing the 30 rosary fee for the rest of time and effectively telling Millabel's cousin-in-law over here to take his rosaries and shove them. It's a cool exploration reward that's unfortunately not really expounded further. I found out you could do this and then spent a half hour in the Underworks looking for a secret anti-toll lever hidden in the cauldron that didn't exist. But the bench is really nice, the rest stop is reasonably positioned, and it's a downright shame a mechanic this cool has to share its territory with this 2-timing crook. Having a lot of rosaries is a mark of faith that makes the climb easier, but giving them away is suddenly a sign of devotion when your shop is full? Mort fucking sucks, by the way. You literally save this douche bazooka from a Rhino Grunt attack if you destroy the gate to the east to let him out, and he acts like he's the victim of some divinity-level oppression brought unto him by a bigger, greater douche bazooka. I say unlock the gate and just leave his ass there once you've bought him out and finished his DoorDash order. Number 15, the Greymoor Temporary Bench. I appreciate the convenience of a rest spot just appearing whenever Chakra drops anchor, but Pilgrim's Rest is maybe 30 seconds directly below where I just came from. I don't like the idea of a bench just disappearing because it feels like it, and there's even a bell chamber directly above me for fuck's sake. So what the hell is this doing so high? Alright viewer, this is where I get to throw you a curveball of galactic intensity, because this is actually one of my favorite pit stop areas. There is one potential constituent that points to this being a very intentional, very strategic bench placement here that I think could be the case. This bench appears to the right of where you first enter, and I think this bench is here to account for players who have the immediate instinct to start going right, since that's what the game has been training you to do for 4 entire regions, 5 if you found Hunter's March. You can say the halfway home is just 2 rooms to the left with almost no resistance, and you'd be completely correct. But if your first instinct doesn't pull you in that direction, then that's not really gonna matter. And the reason I believe this is the case is because of what Chakra says to you when you meet her there. and just as it's fulfilled its purpose, the bench fucks right off, never to be seen again. Number 14, the northmost slab bench. This one checks all the boxes for me. It sits perfectly between an interesting challenge and a not as challenging gauntlet room, all while giving you a nice little window to view the mountaintop from. And we can't see a goddamn thing, but I'm sure she can. Alas, the greatest quality this bench has is something many of you would have already guessed. This bench right here precedes one of the most cold-blooded assassinations I've ever seen in a kid's game. I feel invigorated just watching it back as I'm editing. It just fills me with energy. Like, it makes me feel like putting a lion in a chokehold. I'm not kidding. This shit is life transforming. This is educational media that should be viewed in schools and given exams over. Kids growing up today should know the full name and work history of the motherfucker who got served in this scene. Number 13, the southmost abyss bench. If I was a 50-year-old man showing you a tour of his mansion, this room and this bench is exactly where I would drop the line. This is where the magic happens. Once sit on this bench and you can feel the storm brewing beneath you. It might be the single most tense resting area in the whole game, and when the hardest boss in the game inevitably feeds you a shit sandwich, this is exactly where you're gonna return to adjust your strategy. Lots of memories have been made, and are currently being made right here on this bench, and the single room-sized runback is honestly just a bonus. Number 12, the diving bell bench. I'm gonna be real, I have no reasoning for this one logically. Its placement sucks balls since the Sauna bench is like 2 rooms beside it. The game counts it as 2 benches because dying in the abyss needs to respawn you somewhere, and I still think having a negative opinion of this spot signs you up for a pile driver alarm clock delivered to you by me personally. You get to talk to Ballo, he actually cares enough about it to fix the damn thing when you break it, returning it to an operational state during the end game, making him the whole reason the true ending is even possible to begin with. No, I'm not taking counter arguments. I'm shipping a pile driver alarm clock to your house if I see any disagreements on this. Number 11, the northmost abyss bench. Nothing special on the surface here, barely anything happening around it, so what the hell is it doing so high up here? It's the ascent. Yeah, like, it's the ascent. This climbing sequence had to have been the coolest part of the whole game for me. A resting area here at the exact bottom of this climb not only makes sense progression-wise, since it's both a respite from the enemies you faced prior, and a moment of relief before a very tense section of the game, but revisiting this room in subsequent playthroughs and sitting at this bench establishes a very intimidating aura of, ah yes, it's this room. It's one of those special moments where you just sit for a few seconds and enjoy the tension of knowing what comes next. Number 10, the hidden Bilewater bench. Curiosity killed the cat holds 0 weight in this universe. In Silksong, curiosity gets you that Whoopi Goldberg, South Egyptian Fur Burger Deluxe Mega Million Scratcher Skunk Bubba Kush. And there's no greater example than this exact hidden bench in Bilewater. This bench is able to keep itself cleverly hidden in a relentlessly challenging area and still doesn't feel like a complete middle finger with no leeway. Like, oh, wouldn't it have been so nice if you found this bench before you beat the boss? Sucks to suck. Instead, it ends up feeling more like a respect the woods and the woods will respect you sort of thing. It feels like you learn something about the game you're playing. It's an extremely intelligent bench placement, and I think you can maintain that opinion perfectly fine and still never desire to visit Bilewater ever again. Number 9, the halfway home. If I'm grading it specifically on homeliness, this one might be one of the highest quality benches available in all of Farloom, but I can't get drunk off of the nectar I buy from Kriege, and that makes me really sad. You were afraid of putting that in, but leaving our clothes behind in a derelict prison and going commando for the whole game we're completely fine with? You do get the Hunter's Journal here though, and there's a pretty neat side quest that takes you into Kriege's Doomsday Bunker so you can drastically imbalance the world's ecosystem by lowering the fire ant population. It's also just like a good bench. I don't know what to say. It's nice and cozy. Number 8, Moss Home. So there's actually a very particular reason I've come to call this bench a second home, and that's because when Act 3 commences, this bench gives you the single most effective spot to test damage numbers and farm data because the 2 pilgrims directly to the left of this room become black-threaded and get a nice healthy 4x boost to their max HP. And unlike the Grand Reeds in the Coral Chambers, their defense multipliers are straight 1s across the board, no matter what your needle level is, making them test-friendly in every single situation versus every single skill, tool, hit, blip, and/or tick of damage. You know exactly the amount of damage you're dealing 100% of the time. And a week or so in, when I had developing suspicions that this game's damage conventions were blowing smoke up the asses of millions but didn't have any modding tools that allowed me to actually gather evidence, it was these enemies, and by proxy this bench, that helped me build a foundation for those suspicions. There's also just a lot of cool shit within reach of this bench. Like, you meet Chakra here, the dog is right above you. Like, this is just a very friendly place. Number 7, Songclave. Some of the other hub areas like Bone Bottom and Bellhart have a specific homeliness feeling to them. This one makes you feel like you're part of a fugitive team scheming to enact a war crime on a mother bitch. In every game like this, one resting spot eventually gets labeled the test spot for one reason or another. In Elden Ring, for example, it was the Gatefront Grace, and the one Great Shield Soldier directly behind it attracted the ire of thousands of build testers for the crime of existing in the wrong spot. And in Silksong, it's this bench right here. I've seen so many grand reads get decimated in so many montages, patch note testing videos, and even just random YouTube shorts that want to tell you a tool is good. Like, brother, the entire community wants these bitches dead. Number 6, Lottie's Bench. I remember being floored at the whisperings of a secret third act a few days after the game released, but nothing could have prepared me for the 3-act play silently unfurling in one of the game's most unsuspecting places. This bench has seen some shit. It is a picture-perfect representation of rags to riches to rags once again, epitomizing the very human cycle of rise and fall as preordained as the fucking sun, telling a story of timeless relevance in no more than 3 particular images: the Genesis, the Apex, and the inevitable demise. Christopher Nolan would shit his pants. No greater piece of literature has been concepted by man since the goddamn Bible. People used to be imprisoned and killed over tales of such merit, and today all you gotta do is pay $20. Number 5, the Cauldron Bench. Motherfucking dark horse candidate right here. When I was bicep deep in the anus of the Citadel, and even the most distant squeak or squirm was enough to send my balls into my stomach, this bench was where I called home for a long time. It's bordered by 2 major locations, one being a long and dangerous sub-area churning with magma that has to be big enough for a proper build-up to the movement ability it gives you, and the other being a Hollow Knightified Brookhaven hospital. This room has a little of everything. Silence, first and foremost, but it also has access to a vendor NPC, and one of the better ones, because this is where you get the circlet, the buzzsaw, and the architect crest once you've collected enough tools, and there's even a hidden interaction with the automatons hung up in the room where you play the needle in and they start singing like a bunch of Disney princesses. This one room has so much material just packed into it. It's got items, it's got lore, it's the only bench in the Underworks that doesn't gouge you for cash, and I never got tired of revisiting it even after I spent more time than I should have humping the walls because I couldn't figure out the lever to the left of me spawned a steam vent. Number 4, Bellhart. I don't think any amount of pre-Silksong breathing exercises could have prepared me for the haunted Bellhart reveal towards the middle of Act 1, and dare I say, this would have been a perfect opportunity to envelop the bench in the same silk holding the city captive, barring the rest stop until you freed the city. It would have been a complete turbo cock move, but I remember reflecting on my time here later on and being mildly impressed by the restraint on display here. The further I dug into the weeds of the game, the greater my affinity for Bellhart's homeliness became. There's just everything here. Vendor, Master, Relic Seeker, a comfortable list of side gigs and DoorDash deliveries that keep you busy throughout the whole game, and at the root of it all is a nice gilded bench professionally centered in the center room of the center region of the center of the world map. And you can talk to the center of my fucking butthole if you have a problem with it. Number 3, Bone Bottom. Of all the hub benches in the game, this one really took some time for me to rank because you're meant to visit it less and less as you continue digging through the mid to late game. The signboard doesn't have too many exciting quests on it, and you've probably cleaned out the shop pretty early on. But make no mistake, this bench tells a story. A story of passion, regret, and accomplishment. Sitting on this bench after you've killed the Skull Tyrant for the Terrible Tyrant side quest creates a chance for a second Skull Tyrant to appear while you're resting, destroying the bench and killing Pilby in the process. Return after defeating it, and the bench will be temporarily inactive as the fixer is just there trying to repair it. This is an amazing fucking string of events that had my eyes widening the first time it happened. Like, it just leaves you with so many questions. Is Pilby actually dead? How long will it take for the bench to get repaired? It even sinks down when you sit on it after it's fixed. I thought my fat ass was gonna break it again. Number 2, Fleetopia. Look at how far we got just by having standards. We once called the armpits of this kingdom our home. We spent multiple nights naked in a prison, shivered to a near death atop an oppressive mountain. We slept with the abyssal dregs beneath a magmatic sea. We've been guillotined by spike traps just for trying to take a fucking break. And now after hours and hours of bitter atonement, the light of Paradiso hath fondled thy balls and rewarded thy labor. Here's some mini games. Seth is here having fun. Orange juice refills are free now. You get a tool pouch, you get the egg, you get pen oil. Morwing is getting his ass rotisserayed like a gas station hot dog, and there's even a replacement dish if Morwing is skipped. Who the hell is this dude? Where did they find? Is this just a muck roach? How does this feed an entire festival? Number 1, Bellhome. There are many like it, but this one is mine. I was grappling with the decision to even include this one in the ranking because it seems a bit unfair to bring into the competition a whole-ass queen size in a list that's supposed to only be ranking public seating, but rest is rest, and if the game says it's a bench, then I says it's free real estate. Fuck sitting down. Just go to sleep. Just go to sleep and forget that you have a kingdom to save for a few minutes. Or sit at your desk and study for something. Or take a bath. Or install your new Farsight gadget. Or develop a passive income from the crows over in Greymoor. When I was done capturing footage for the day, I would always return to this resting spot here because this is just where it felt like home the most. And I think upon realizing that, I just gotta be honest with myself here and properly declare this one the winner. Such a small area and there's somehow all this shit in it you can just flat out miss on a first playthrough, like Jesus Christ. And speaking of things that are missable, if you haven't played War Thunder in over 6 months and you're on PC or console, you can get a bonus pack shot with multiple vehicles, in-game currency, and 1 week of premium. War Thunder is available on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile via the links in the description. Vehicles! Combat! Fucking...
Whew.